Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to jump back into Assetto Corsa with the sim racing system. This time we're going to be doing a GT2 race at Silverstone, and we've picked the Chevrolet Corvette rather than the Ferrari. So we'll see how it handles, we'll see how we do. I did one lap practice before this started and got my settings all ready to go, so probably won't be good. Now once this gets down to 3 minutes, we should be good to go, so hopefully this all works out. If it doesn't, it was all in vain. But there's 45 people signed up for this race, so hopefully we'll get put in a good split. Hopefully there's enough people there that it gets divided up nicely. There we go, 3 minutes, should get a refresh. There's the refresh. Here's the join button. And there's the loading. It looks like it's all worked. Fantastic. Now what we're going to do is we'll have to double check the audio in OBS, because half the time it doesn't work. It's a gamble. Gamble. Is the audio recording? Yes, there it is. Desktop audio, fantastic. So that's all good. We've got the pedals on the screen so that you can see that. We've zoomed the camera in a bit. You can see the steering wheel a little bit on the screen. I know people like that. We can see the little TV screen for our rear view mirror. We've got the tyres, we've got the laps, we've got the wrong amount of fuel for quali. So we'll just change that. And we're going to go for slick softs because they seemed all right last time. Let's get the fuel down and we'll do a little, we've got 2 minutes practice. I think we've got 10 minutes qualifying, so we'll get a little bit of practice in. We don't need that much fuel, so we'll just go with this and see how it goes. We're going to keep the traction control on to start with. Until we're fully happy. This Chevrolet Corvette has a bit of a habit of the back kicking out. It's good fun with the traction control off when I've played it previously, but I've not driven this car since the update, and the update has introduced different handling with the tyre model, and I'm going to play it safe for this race. So I think we'll do another session afterwards with the traction control off, though I'm led to believe that a lot of drivers do drive with the traction control on. But we're not doing this professionally, we're doing this for fun. And if we drive into everyone and kill them, there won't be much fun. So we're going to keep it on to start with. Now, when we were driving the other car, that gave us a chance to learn the track a bit. But when I did this, I did one lap with this car on the track before we got into this, and it's a completely different line with this car. And this Chevrolet is a lot more stable, it would seem, than the Ferrari, and actually a lot more progressive, a lot more predictable. So it should be easier. It seems to be it turns in on the brakes, but it doesn't drift sideways as much as the Ferrari. It will rotate on its own central axis more, but in general I just think it's an easier car to drive. It's a lot harder to accidentally run off the track with it. It seems to have more bite. More bite than the shark from Jaws. Richard Jones in front of us. And from what I understand, in the real world, this car is the best in the GT2 class as well. I don't know if that transfers to AC or this track and this setup on the server. But all things said and done, we'll see. But I don't know, actually. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it seems easier to drive, so maybe that will be conducive to going faster. That's the end of practice. Now, I've turned all the post-processing effects off, but I've got track details on full, shadows on full, 4 times AA. It's like a feast of Assetto Corsa graphics. And to be honest, I mean, I like some of the glare effects with the post-processing, and I like the heat shimmer. But you really don't need it on. you might as well just turn all that nonsense off and just get the pure image that you get when you turn effects off. Though you do need the effects on if you want to do the photo mode, you want to do depth of field and stuff like that. Things that, whilst you're driving, aren't that important. I think the practice can't finish until the last guy on the track, which I think might be me, has to finish their lap before it goes into quali. So we'll just take our time. This is nice practice that we did need. We'll get our practice in. Everyone can wait. Interesting, the force feedback with this car as well allows me to shove it up on, you see I've got it on 80%, whereas with the Ferrari I had to turn it down a bit before I get in clipping, but force feedback on there, 80%, totally fine. Occasionally it's clipping, but for majority of the lap, majority of the driving, there's no clipping, so it's one of those cars where you can put the in-game FFB quite high and not have problems. It seems to vary from car to car. And earlier today we did a race with the crossbow. I didn't record it because we'd already done a race on that track with that car. And there we go, we finished the session. And we came second in that, which was pretty good, but there was only eight or so cars in the split. So although it was a good fun race, and again with the sim race system, that race was really clean. And it worked out well, and it was good fun. There was only 8 people in it, so, you know, I can't feel too much pride in coming second. With this, though, what I really need to do is get a setup, because I was speaking to other drivers that have taken part in this GT2 series on SRS, and they said you gain 1.5 to 2 seconds just from the setup for having a good setup, and that was with the Ferrari, I think, and the BMW. So we need a setup for this car, but we're using defaults for now because I haven't got a setup, and I couldn't find one even on the is it Setup Market, or there's a setup website for AC. Even on there I couldn't find one for this car. There was a couple for the Ferrari because it's obviously more popular, and a couple for the BMW, but nothing for this car. So defaults it is. Mind you, I'm not driving as good as I could, so before changing the setup, we've still got some technique to develop on this track, and optimising the brake points and the racing line in a general sense before I'll really see big gains from the setup anyway. So it's not going to be the difference between winning and losing the race really until I get a little bit better on this track. So I'm not too fussed about it. And I think that's the thing with setups, and I've said this before in other videos, but you can end up spending ages fiddling with setups and tweaking them, and you'll think that you've done a good thing, or you think a setup you've downloaded is good, but ultimately if you've not got within a very tight threshold of doing reliable laps one on top of each other, or you're still learning a track, there's no point in really doing that unless you categorically have got a setup that you know categorically is the setup for the car in terms of setting good laps for whatever reason with that specific sim or that specific car. In general, you might as well spend your time focusing on actually consistently lapping before tweaking setups. And as I said in the previous video, a good way to know if you're consistently lapping is obviously seeing that each lap time is similar, but just having the delta on the screen and seeing how much it varies corner to corner. If it's varying a lot, you know that you're driving like a buffoon, and if it's fairly stable, you know you're sort of getting into the setup territory. Okay, this should be interesting because Carlos Campos, I think, is a little bit slower than us. I love how stable this car feels. It's just point and go. It's a nice simple car. This is about as literal handling of a car as it goes. We can follow through that, we don't need to brake there. Point in the direction, put your foot on the throttle, and that's where the car's going to go. Some vehicles you sort of have to do this deceptive slide, move them, play with their weight a bit to get them into corners, and they might take the corners at slight angles, and that's the optimum line around corners, but with this Chevrolet, it's literally point and go. Probably designed this car for 4-year-olds. Millionaire 4-year-olds. Oh, we did get stuck in a bit of a slide there, and that's with the traction control on, so that if you do go over the limit, you can get stuck in a bit of a, not really a drift, but a sort of lateral slide, so we have to watch out for that, especially if we start baking the tyres and the tyres start wearing. I'm sure that'll become more of an issue. But it should be fine as long as we behave ourselves. Whoa! Now I've got the force feedback settings on the main game setup. I've been messing around with having the understeer effect on, not the exaggerate understeer effect, because that, to me, that's atrocious, because it totally gets rid of aspects of the steering correction when you go over the limit. But the having the I think it's slip effect, I think it's called. I've been putting that. I tried it on 100 for a bit, and now I've got it on 50, as they will let them take each other out. I've now got it on 50 so that I can feel the tyres vibrating when it's understeering. Oh, this guy's awful. He's just took that other guy out and now he's blocking me. Oh well. Yeah, so I've got it on 50% now so that it shakes a little bit when you're understeering, the fronts are losing grip, which is a little bit exaggerated, but it does help in giving you a clue as to why your front end might not be biting so much. Which with these GT cars, because they're so literal and planted, it's not really needed. But with some vehicles in the game that are a little bit more ambiguous or tend to float around a bit more, it's nice to have that communicated through the force feedback with an effect, so you know for definite it's the front end not biting, and then you can drive in response to that. Also, you can get a bit more feel for when you brake and you're locking in some of the vehicles where it might not be clear that you're pushing the brake a bit too hard than need be. But this is all right. Shame that guy blocked us. I mean, we tapped into him, but we were already basically past him. He was slower. I guess I did the wrong thing by knocking into him, but oh dear. Off to jail I go. Oh, so that's a note to add. The fake grass is very slippy, so we need to watch out for that. We can probably flow right through here at quite a pace, but it's a case of lining up the first corner for the rest of the corners to follow them through, so they all line up and you get a nice movement through there. So we'll try and do that. We should get maybe 2 more laps of quali if we're lucky. Put too much fuel in the car, so that's weighing us down, but again, we're driving so slow, that's not going to make a difference over our overall time. That's the thing with Silverstone, it's got a really nice, really nice flow to it. This car does have a tiny bit of lift-off oversteer on some of these corners, but again, it's very predictable, very slight. It's not lift-off oversteer that will spin the car. It's just a tiny bit of lift-off oversteer that you can use to get around the corner when you got a bit too much power on through it. And low-speed grip is surprisingly good with this car as well, with it again remaining really stable. So we should be good for the race. When you've got a car that's this sort of literal and simplistic to drive, it does allow you to focus more on the side-by-side driving and the tactical aspect of trying to defend and position yourself in the context of a race. I'd personally find this type of car extremely dull to do hot laps with. Maybe it's a good car to learn a track initially, but you know, once you spend more time with it, it gets a bit dull. But in the context of a race, that simplicity in the handling can allow you, as I say, to focus on the other aspects of racing without having your brain power absorbed by the vehicle. It's not like the Rough, for example, or the Lotus, some of the old Lotuses or just old vehicles in general that have a lot of movement to them, where you're expelling quite a lot of brain power on the basic handling of the cars. Oh, we're up 2/10. We're going to get one more lap to go. Tyres are all right, I think. Some of these corners are quite deceptive because they look flat, but then they're sort of tiny bit off camber, and that's not that apparent when you're playing on a screen. On a VR headset, you can see that straight away, and obviously from experience of Silverstone, you'll know that. But if you were coming to this first time, you might be sort of wondering, oh, why is the car going a bit wide there? Why is there less grip on that corner? See if I can throw it in a bit more to there, because we can get a lot of time by not braking and just using the vehicle, knocking it into that T1 and carrying the speed all the way through it. That's the way to do it. I think actually this is the car I was driving in R Factor 2. It was a Corvette of sorts. Pretty sure. It's a lot less stable in R Factor 2, but that's when I was playing R Factor 2 more, was with the GT cars in that. And on this track as well. And the R Factor 2 version of the track's actually quite nice. Don't think it's laser scan though, but it's got the details where you need it. It's got the track texture where it's needed. Feels very similar to this laser scan version. Well, there we go, 4/10 up. We're doing pretty good. And this has got to be the last lap as well, because the checker flag is up. This guy up front with a bit of a high ping, warping around. So you can cut these corners quite a lot, then line that up. Oh, then get on the throttle early, but you have to watch out because then the track just starts disappearing. Still yet to get that done nicely. We'll get there. Get moderately, through the force feedback with this car, you get a moderately good feel of how much grip you've got whilst you're on the brake. That allows you good feel when it comes to trail braking with this vehicle, and especially for those prolonged high-speed corners, you can then get a good gauge for how much grip you've got and how much liberty you can take with the speed through the corner. There you go, 13th place. Maybe we'll try and blame that on. Maybe we can blame that on setup. I know. I get the feeling I can get another 1.5, 2 seconds just by driving the lap better, and then maybe another second with a setup. So, oh, I'm going straight to the race here. 10-lap race. We're going to put 28 litres of fuel in. We're just, as I say, defaults. Gamer Muscular. Gamer Muscle introduced me. Oh dear, hello. Hello, good luck. Right. This should be interesting, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. 28 seconds to the race start. Look at the grid, absolutely packed. This is totally full of people. And yeah, I'm excited. A little bit of trepidation for the start. Let's get ready because the lights are coming on. Rev the engine. You can't jump the start in AC. Maybe that's something that will be added in the next patch. One can only hope, because that, you know, that adds a lot of tension to the start of a race. But there we go. Oh, we might get one place here. He's going to move. That's really nice of him. He didn't need to do that. Oh, I'm on the brake there because I don't want to understeer off. My tyres are cold. Really nice. Oh, we've messed up the look camera, unfortunately. Whoever's in that Ferrari, thank you. I really appreciate you giving me a football field of space. And we've got a guy on that inside. Yeah, we can't look left because look at the turn speed of the camera. My fault. I've changed setting and forgot to change it back. Turn speed of the camera. It's like the IndyCar camera they use for TV when they do the rotation of that is so slow. It's like a cinematic pan rather than something useful for sim racing. I think we're all right on the left. We've got Heli Corsa though, so we'll rely on that. But there you go, that was a perfect example. The Ferrari, at the start there, I mean, realistically, he should have blocked me off to be defensive of the position, but he pulled over a little bit to the left so that I could go through. Maybe that, I mean, I'd say that was a bit too passive, but you know, that was really friendly and nice. And I can't believe this is basically a public server that's happening with. Oh, I feel sorry for the guy behind me there because he doesn't know where I'm going to brake. So it was really good. Nice driving there. Most people seem to have gotten through that start patch, and we seem to be in between the front group of cars and the mid-pack of cars. So we've moved forwards quite a bit. We had a good start there. I've found that a lot of people are very tentative at the start because partly they're trying to avoid crashing at the beginning of the race, which is a good way to drive. But also a lot of people find it hard to be confident on the cold tyres, whereas I'll just go for it. And I'm pretty confident with AC and the handling. Even with the cold tyres, you can very much feel in the force feedback what's going on to respond to it. Some vehicles are a little bit tricky, a lot more tricky with the cold tyres. For example, the Crossbow with cold tyres has a tendency to rotate in an uncatchable way. But these cars, especially this Corvette, has quite a bit of slack before you're going to start losing it. So gives you the extra confidence on the cold tyres, which allows you to gain a couple of places at the start. Hopefully we can catch up with this bunch of people. With luck, they'll be fighting amongst each other. They might have an accident, and they might just be slow because they're fighting amongst each other, which often happens, and will give us a chance to catch up with them, be on the tail of them, and that'll make for more interesting racing. I'd much rather be driving with people, admiring their rear bumper, watching the car ride over the track, than lapping by myself. It looks like, yeah, we are sort of catching on them if I can get to grips with these corners. Whoa, we got to watch out for that. Don't penalty me, Kunos, thank you. Whew, thought I was going to get a Kunos penalty of death there. I think there might be an accident up front because they've taken some lines through there. Whoa, we took too much of a cut of that and that. See what the mistakes add up there. If you got to be very careful. We somehow got away with that and gained time. I'm being acutely aware of what's going on in front though in the distance, because it's very likely. Oh, look at the smoke, that's so cool. It's really likely that there'll be an accident up front just from people making a move. Maybe not like a complete carnage crash, but it's very likely someone make a mistake and that'll fall back towards me, give me a good chance to be able to make a move. Not if I do that. These are corners where you lose a lot of time. If you lock up, you've lost your momentum, you've got to put the power back on. That's, burning time. Not ideal. And we've got a driver behind us. It's Robert Vidlock, I think is his name. Probably said that wrong. Sorry about saying your name wrong, dude. He's probably faster than us and we'll probably be looking to make a move on us. So we need to get up in that front pack ASAP, as our front lefts are cooking. Look at that on the tyre monitor. We're going to need... don't know what we can do to stop the temperature then. That'll be the prolonged right-handers, I think, putting load on those tyres every time we go round. I don't think there's anything we can do. Just need a bucket of water. Whoa! That's what happened when we were doing the qualifying. So we need to watch out for that. And we've got a car right up to our left. Saw him on Heli Corsa. But that's got to watch out for that. Yeah, we need a bucket of water. we need to get a bucket of water from the back of the car. We need the Oculus Rift on, or the HTC Vive, and we need to start throwing water out the side of the car. Yeah, those lefts are getting worse. I'm going to try, if this guy makes a move on me, I'm going to try and not take him out. But we are going to try and be defensive as well. the key to success here is going to be driving a lot smoother. We're sliding all over the place, and that is really costly. So look, this guy's right on our bumper. He's going to be right in the draft. We're moving to the left there. I moved too slow to the left, so I can't actually defend that now. But we're still on the inside for this corner. He's very safely and advisedly pulled back. So there's the very real risk that we could understeer off into him. And we've gone too fast in this corner again, leaving us open on the left, but he's still behind us. He's taking it nice and easy. He's waiting for the... He's like a tiger waiting in a bush for the right time to pounce. He's flashing his lights. He wants to pass. But I'm not going to just let him pass. Don't be silly. This is racing. You have to work for your dinner. I mean, that is racing. You can't just peep your lights at the... guy in front. Oh dear, we've locked up. That's it. That'll be his way past, probably. No, because we're still on the inside. He's going to have a nervous breakdown in a minute because he can't get past. It was like a brick wall. We built a Berlin Wall in front of this guy. I'm sorry, Robert van der Beek. He's found his way past. He's driving the Chevrolet as well, so... I mean, I guess we could have let him go past, but that's not racing. You've got to be a bit of a troll. He's going to move off in front. Hopefully we can follow behind him, actually. And this is, I was going to say this before, what I find is a good way to get up to speed, as we almost lose control of the car there, on tracks that you're not particularly solid on or... are still learning, is if you join a public server, as long as you're not crashing into people and you're driving safely, a good way to get up to speed is to drive with good drivers and just stay behind them and see where they're braking, see how they're approaching the corners and drive smoothly, and that will get you faster and up to speed quicker than, you know, just hot lapping by yourself, potentially making the same mistake over and over. If you've got a car in front of you in a race, you actually have a good solid reference point there. How many times do we need to go into that corner too hot? That's where we're losing all our time. We need to improve that. We need to brake a bit sooner. But that reference point is really useful. You just have to make sure that you're not accidentally copying their mistakes if they're not particularly fast. Or that, you know, assuming that they are driving the best that there possibly is. But I guess if you're racing on a good server with good skilled drivers, whoever's first is going to be driving the best because they're first. We need to get back on the tail of Robert van der Beek halfway through this race. If we were driving smoother, we would be up in that front pack. We've really ruined ourselves here by braking too heavily. Let's try and be smooth. He says, let's try and be smooth. He says dropping the throttle and hitting the rev limiter. I love the way the shadows sort of move through the cockpit though in AC, especially when you put the shadows on higher settings. I think we need to brake a little bit more from that, push the car in, then we should be able to just drift wide nice and smooth and carry the speed through there. Yeah, especially when you put the shadows on the higher settings in AC, they actually look quite nice and nice and smooth. They're sharp, but there's a little bit of diffuseness to the edges of them, and it's just really nice seeing them move around the cockpit as you drive, sort of rather hypnotic. Our left side of the car is we could cook dinner on those tyres. Oh, that's a little bit better, but we can take a bit more of an angle there, brake a little bit sooner till, and then you get that feeling, and you can sort of feel it in the force feedback in Assetto Corsa. When you've actually carried the speed through the corners properly, you can just feel it in the force feedback that you've actually nailed it. Oh, totally wrong. We're faster than what we've done on previous laps, but totally wrong still. We'll get it. Once you nail that corner, you sort of get a feel for it and you can just do it time after time. So lap 6 of 10, position 8. We've moved up a couple of places from the start, so that's not too bad. I feel like we're getting a little bit faster on the track as well. All good and very productive. Just want to get back on the tail of those front runners, or maybe, with luck, there'll be an accident, giving us a chance to attack back. I'm not sure how far you can run wide on that corner. I mean, if you watch the real world racing, you do see them take quite a lot of liberty with that and run really wide. So it's almost as if the white line markers don't really come into account there. Typically, the default rule is 2 tyres on the inside of the white line that defines the track. But then, as everyone knows, that rule seems to be at the whim of what the majority of drivers happen to do on a given track on a given race day. I think iRacing, though, they with their system, they sort of define it very much. It's like having a Nazi officer. You have to, if you touch the grass, that's it, you get a penalty. You don't get a track cut unless you really cut, but in some ways, I think for sim racing, they probably should enforce it, or probably is beneficial to enforce it a bit like that. Not quite sure with these SRS servers how enforced it is, or how much of a cut you can do before you start getting into trouble. Because I've not tested it yet. We should probably do that at some point. Three more laps to go. We seem to be sort of stuck in this dead man zone here. No man's land. On that subject of no man's land, they've just announced the new Battlefield with a sort of hype trailer. It didn't really show any gameplay, so you can't really get a gauge of what it's like, but it's going to be set in World War I. And they've sort of taken a bit of artistic license with it. Whoa, we've run right there. A bit of artistic license with it and gone a bit sort of steampunky with it. Oh, there's tyre smoke right up ahead, so this might be a chance to actually move forwards. If we don't drive like a drunk on a tea tray. So with the new Battlefield, I'm actually quite optimistic for it. At first I was like, oh, I'm done with Battlefield, because Battlefield 4, it was okay. Battlefield 3 is alright. Battlefield 4 was an improvement on Battlefield 3, but it took them ages to patch out all the issues. And sort of thinking, well, you know, the DLC and stuff, I'm pretty much done with it. It looks like they might be moving away from aspects of DLC, and if they do move away from the DLC with Battlefield, and the combat is more focused, and it's not a case of swatting flags like it was in Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3, and the maps are well designed, it could actually be a really good game. And I think it could appeal to people that really like the Sims, like Red Orchestra, for example, but want something a little bit more arcadey and immediate and more fluid in the combat. So that'll be really interesting. We'll have to keep our eyes on it. I probably won't buy it at launch. I might do just to review it. But if not, we'll probably give it a couple of months. So that's the best thing to do with a lot of games now, is to actually wait a few months after launch so you can get a gauge of how buggy it is, if they're fixing the issues, how popular it is online, if it looks like it's going to be a good stable game, or if there's really cheesy stuff in it. That was another problem with Battlefield 4. There's a bunch of cheesy mechanics that really ruined it. I always get confused on Silverstone as to which is the actual... Oh, someone's lost it out front. Smoke everywhere. There's a Tokyo drift. You have to say, anytime someone drifts in a game or loses control, does a big slide, it's Tokyo drift. Tokyo drift because it's Tokyo and drifting. But Luigi Ballasconini, I think his back marker is about to be lapped, was taking that corner sideways. And no, we've got Carlos Calabriel behind us. He's coming to pick up the pieces because we've been driving so slow. And I've just realised I could be pushing the brake a lot heavier than I have been before locking up. This is the kind of stuff you want to test before going into a race. Of course, this car has the ABS as well, so you really can hammer the brake. It will lock up, and especially if you're doing trail braking, you know, you'll find the car start sliding off. So that's a little bit better, but then we've lost power now. Maybe if I'll go down a gear next time. Whilst taking that, Carlos Calibri is going to be right on a tail to make a move based on the speed that he's gaining on this, and I think our tyres aren't the happiest they've ever been. Carlos Calibri, he's sniffing. There's blood in the water. Carlos Calibri on the last, coming up to the last laps. We're not even defending that. That was pitiful. Oh no, he's going to outbrake himself. Oh dear, we're going to drive that corner sideways. Will Carlos Calibri have an accident with Luigi Ballascoloni? Don't know, he sounds like an Italian coffee shop, that guy. We've lost another place. We're driving backwards. Oh, that was a lot better, going up the inside there. And this is what I mean about it's being utterly inconsistent with our racing line and brake points. We need to polish that up. And look, they've took each other out. Ugh. Don't give me a penalty for that. Whoa, come on. Oh, what a bugger. After avoiding the crash, I'm trying to rejoin the track as fast as possible. Unfortunately, the car was in some kind of crazy tyres not happy sideways driving hovercraft mode from that avoidance with all the dirt on the tyres, and as a result we couldn't join the track before Carlos rejoined. We almost crashed into him rejoining, but we didn't, so it's okay. It would have been criminal actually, and it's a good actual time to mention that you really should, when rejoining the track, definitely pay attention. Again, the kind of thing that really helps having VR, but Assetto Corsa only shows you what's happening in a very close radius. For that kind of situation, it actually really helps having a track map on your screen so you can see that it's safe to rejoin. You know what, our tyres are absolutely flannelled. It's like we're driving the Flintstones car here. We've got concrete wheels. That's what it feels like. Could be a placebo, but that's definitely what it feels like. You see there's a little bit of wear on them on the side, but yeah, the car definitely seems more willing to slide into corners. Though actually, that was a nice way around that corner. Incidentally, actually, driving the corner like that reminds me of, if any of you did the Gran Turismo GT Academy, I didn't enter it, but I played it, the car that they did with it, briefly at a friend's house, and had a chance to look at how people were getting the top lap times. And to get the top lap times, people were having to do slides like what I did just back there, but in a far more absurd and canned way, in order to get the fastest lap times. It was pretty funny actually. If you watch the, I don't know if they've changed the circuit for this year's, or they probably changed the car and the circuit, but if you watch, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago when they did Silverstone, and it was, I can't remember what car it was, but if you watch the hot laps on YouTube and you watch how they're having to weirdly micro drift around the corners to exploit the physics. Do you know what? We might be able to pip him back. Very dangerous to say that in the last 2 corners, because that's how you end up getting overexcited and rear-ending them. I think he might be letting us... no, I thought he was going to let us retake the place, but that is the race. Done and over, 8th place. It wasn't too bad. I mean, it was more of an opportunity to learn the driving. It would have been nicer to have more close racing with people. We avoided a crash. We kind of finished where we started. It could have been better, could have been worse. Nice, clean driving at the start. Good driving by everyone else, I think, apart from a couple of accidents. Really good fun. Oh, like hiccuping, I say. Really good fun. So, if you want to see more, we're going to be doing each SRS race. I'm going to record them, and if it's a different car and a different track, I'm not just going to keep displaying the same car on the same track. We'll go through it, and as we gradually get better, it'll be interesting to see how we progress on the videos. If you've got any questions on what you'd like us to talk about the next time we do one of these races, anything you want us to cover, as I said, we're doing a lot of VR videos, drop it in the comments. But for now, I will see you guys. Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye.